Hey, what's up, guys? T here, back with some more Hearts of Iron footage. Today we're going to be looking at the research screen and kind of going down in depth of what these tabs are and what they can do with what to do with them, and actually give some tips on what to research and when. So first, we're just going to kind of run through what each one is and what they do and what's kind of hiding in them. So first one's just infantry. What it does is support equipment just gives you buffs to defense. Defense, and then this is going to be night attack. It's night vision, kind of more advanced things. And then this is infantry equipment. This one, and this one give you buffs to infantry attacking, whereas these are actual physically things that you have to produce for the infantry to carry as their actual weapons. So these require production from the production screen. So you research them and then you upgrade and upgrade. Again, increasing your attack each time. Motorized are for your motorized divisions. The truck is the basic. It's used for transporting basic motorized infantry and as well as carrying support equipment. And then you can upgrade to the half tracks to go mechanized later if you want to. Little tip: don't use this one unless you're okay with your troops being slow. Yes, it's easy to build and it is a buff for your attack, but honestly, the speed that it travels at, since it's so primitive, is actually almost more of a penalty than anything else. Whereas this travels the same speed as the, actually just slightly slower than the truck, and this is the same speed as the truck. So it's kind of, I mean, use it at your own risk, I guess, is what I'd just like to throw out there, is just watch the speeds, because your divisions do move slower. You lose that blitzkrieg aspect when you switch to the slower half track. And then down below you have the special forces. Your Marines are really good at attacking on naval invasions, attacking over rivers, and they have speed movements through marshes and rainforests and stuff like that. They're kind of the, they're anything that has to do with water, they're probably going to be the best choice. Though, then you have the Mountaineers, and just as they sound like they're really good in mountainous terrain, they move faster, they attack better, they fight harder. The whole thing, that's their specialty. And then the Paratroopers, everyone knows Paratroopers. You drop them in behind enemy lines, they secure positions, just different things like that. Something to be aware of, though, is all the special forces, when fighting on a normal terrain where there's no any of the modifiers, water, mountains, or even just paratroopers. It doesn't matter what terrain, because paratroopers don't have terrain, but any of these are actually a little bit worse than the standard infantry forces, as far as stats. Just a little bit. It's just kind of even out that they have these buffs. They just make them worse on regular terrain. But so that's just something to be heads up on. Next is the support battalions. Basically, you throw these in the division template, and they give you some pretty awesome bonuses. I'm not going to go through the bonuses because you can just kind of hover on them. Tips and tricks. The best, something really important to have, I guess not the best, but something important to have, is field hospital. What it does is a certain amount of your men, 20% trickle back. What that means is 20% of your casualties will trickle back into this manpower of cap up here, which is really quite excellent, especially for countries with smaller manpower. The UK, for example. Really useful. Logistics, saves supply. Radio does initiative, so you get to your troops move more efficiently and attack more efficiently because they can radio to each other. Essentially, is what that is. Maintenance company gives you plus 25% reliability, so it really keeps your tanks working and not breaking down. So you don't have to build as many tanks, which is really nice because tanks are really hard to build. Military police keeps everybody in line. It actually, what it does is, look at me. I said I'm not going through them. I'm going to go through them. Gives a suppression bonus. So. What it does is, when they're garrisoning an area, the local resistance there will not be as strong because of the military police. So what they do is they keep everybody in line. They keep everybody in line whatever territory they're in. And recon company, basically what it does is it gives reconnaissance. It lets you see what the enemy division's front line looks like a little bit more detailed. They do give you a defensive buff for the actual division when you see that, and that's really nice. The engineer company is really good for entrenching. Basically, it's defensive buff. You can entrench deeper, which once a unit is fully entrenched, especially when they have these extra, it's a lot harder to move them out and attack them when they're fully entrenched. So that's kind of the bonus for that. So armor, tanks are pretty self-explanatory. Light tanks, less armor, less attack, but move faster. Medium, well, let's just skip the heavy. Heavy, more armor, more attack, slower. Medium, it's in the middle. Pretty self-explanatory, guys. The modern tank is the tank of all tanks. It's the combination of all three. It really is, but it's hella hard to build. It takes a lot of production to build that. The experimental heavy is, kind of fun, but again, hard to build. Experimental heavy, I don't know. You do it at your own risk. I guess I don't really vary into those trees so much. But a thing to point out here is that each and every tank can become a tank destroyer, artillery piece, or an anti-aircraft. And a lot of people don't realize that, but they're really helpful. Because we'll see on the next day the artillery. Artillery is nice, like the infantry artillery, but these tank artilleries are just so much stronger. Or tank anti-tank, or tank anti. They're so much stronger than the infantry-based ones. They're a lot harder to build because you have to build the whole tank, but they're a lot stronger, which is something interesting to know. And here we have the artillery screen. You have artillery, anti-air, anti-tank. Artillery is really good for you helping infantry assault areas. Infantry natively have almost no attack strength. They're really good at defending, but no attack strength. So when you add artillery, they become stronger at attacking. Anti-air protects them from close air support, obviously. And then anti-tank is good for, it gives you the armor penetration buff to be able to shoot through tanks, which is really nice. And then when you go to the next one, we got Land Doctrine. These are going to be your strategy, essentially. Whatever you're trying to do with your army, that's what wing you want to go down. So mobile warfare is going to be motorized infantry and tanks. That gives a bunch of buffs for those things. Superior firepower is going to be artillery and infantry, like those two things. That combination, that's what superior firepower is going to do. Grand battle plan is basically, it doesn't matter what units you're fighting for. What it's trying to focus on is keeping your units more organized and more tight-knit, creating a giant plan, planning faster, planning better, in order to execute your orders very effectively. Mass assault is basically the spam doctrine. Think of Russia with Russian conscripts. It's basically grab as many as you can. Don't worry about how much you have to train, or try to train them faster. Get as many guys out there. That's what that is. Now to the naval screen, you have to research the new ships in order to produce them. They're better armor, better firepower, better speed. The whole thing, the whole works. They're just better models. The more interesting, something that people usually don't know about, is transport. So what's important about these is when you're trying to plan a naval invasion, if you only have transport 1, as you can see, naval invasion capacity is 10. So you can only actually transport 10 divisions on a naval invasion. So even if you have 50 ready and rearing to go, you can only send 10. So you need to upgrade to this, which you add another 40. So now you could send all 50. Let's say now you have 100 divisions. You have to get to the next one, and then you could plus 100, so now you could do 150. It's just moving up. It also gives you other things, buffs of you can do it faster, you can have better defense whilst you're doing it, things like that. Moving on to the Naval Doctrine screen. Fleet and Being is basically, it focuses on your capital ships, your like focusing as being like a regular fleet. So it focuses on screening and capital ship firepower, like battleship firepower, armor, carrier armor, just different things like that to keep your capital ships up and be like a total fleet with destroyers and light cruisers screening, with submarines kind of keeping an eye out for other ships as well. It's like the whole package kind of thing. Train introduction, it's like for the major navies. Train introductions for smaller navies, it's basically like, I don't have a navy to control the seas, but I also don't want people to just be able to have free trade. So you're going to sneak in. So it's for smaller navies, sink convoys, different things like that. That's trade interdiction. And then base strike is really carrier focused. That's what base strike is. It's going to allow your carriers a lot of buffs to carry more planes and be more effective at striking at land targets. So then we move on to the air screen. You have to research new plane models. Running through the plane models really quick. The close air support provides, buffs for infantry on the ground when fighting. Fighter is your standard fighter. It's for air superiority, keep bombers and fighters out of your airspace. Naval bomber is really good at bombing enemy ships. That's what it's designed to do, whether it's launched from an airbase on the land or from a carrier. Heavy fighters are basically just stronger versions of the fighter that just take more to produce. So if you have the production, go for the heavy fighter. If you just need to spam some fighters because you need fighters, go for the fighters. Tactical bomber is going to be kind of the mix between the close air support and the strategic bombers, because the strategic bomber, what that is it goes to bomb cities. It's just kind of the flatlining bomber where it just takes everything out. It's trying to take out factories, stuff like that. But it can't do close air. So the tactical bomber can do the bombing of cities, and it can do close air, but it doesn't do either of them as good as one or the other. It's kind of like the hybrid. So it can do either, but it's not quite as good. Jet engines, they're just upgraded versions, faster, obviously. You can kind of read the stats and figure that out yourself. The air doctrine, strategic destruction is going to be that bombing, targeting cities, targeting bridges, infrastructure, take them out behind their lines. Battlefield support is going to be take them out at the front line. It's going to be, your close air support buffs. It's going to allow you to have a greater attack at the point of attack. And then operational integrity is kind of that focusing on that tactical bomber aspect where you can just be flexible and you kind of do whatever you need to do to win. Essentially, is that one plane aspect where you can just kind of have the wonder plane where it's both ways. The engineering screen is pretty important. Basically, you see this wing here is going to get you research buffs all the way down. Encryption and decryption, basically it hides your attack plans from the enemy, and then you can actually see the attack plans of the enemy with decryption. So like, say they're planning a naval invasion, if it helps you catch wind of that, and it'll say, oh, the UK is planning to invade in northern Germany. And you can actually like see that, and not the plan itself, but it gives you a notification so you can kind of prepare for that invasion. And then the left side is radio to radar. Radio, you need to research for the radio company, but radar, then when you build radio towers, they help you quite a bit, but that's how you get them. And then you have your atomic research to get nuclear bombs, and then jets research for experimental rockets and rocket artillery. And then you have your production, which is your efficiency cap, your industry, and the difference between these two is one gives you a little bit more factory output, while this one gives you production efficiency retention. But this one is less vulnerable to bombs because it's spread out, whereas this isn't because it's concentrated. So that's kind of the difference there. And then we have construction. You build factories faster. Excavation, which is where you get more resources, and then synthetic oil is every one you build of a synthetic oil plant, you get +5 oil and +2 rubber. So, and then each time you level it up, you can put one more in an individual area that you're constructing. So one more in a territory. So 1, 2, 3, and then that's how many you can put in. So at level 1 you put in 1, 2 you can put in 2, and so on. So that's kind of the research screen, guys, in a nutshell. Hope you enjoyed watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you like this and you want to see more content like this. Thanks for watching.